Cozy podcast. I'm Amy. Today I am recording in our beautiful vintage camper. If you've watched some previous episodes, you know she is affectionately called Lady Edith. And I'm so happy to be here recording. It's been a while, a long while, and I hadn't intended it to be such a long time between episodes, but you know what? That's just how life goes. I'm so happy to be recording again, and I'm really excited to share with you all that I've been making. I have a lot to share, so in the interest of keeping these episodes reasonable, I'm going to record kind of shorter catching you up videos over the next couple of days to weeks. I'm hoping to get it all done this week. We'll see how it goes. Today is Mother's Day in, I believe, the United States and Canada. I think it is. And we've had a lovely day so far. I woke up to, we're out at our cabin, which is in Northern California. And I woke up to a beautiful bouquet of wildflowers, which was so sweet. And then my husband got me the coolest card. He knows I love lavender. And let me show you. How amazing is that? It was really sweet. I should say I am recording with a new camera. And this is the first time I'll be using it for an actual episode. I'm very hopeful that there will not be any crazy technical difficulties or weird focusing. Fingers crossed. Let's go ahead and get started. First, I'm so excited to show you this. I finished my Scrappy Cardi. I started this cardigan on January 2nd, and one of my knitting goals for the year was to knit a Scrappy Cardi. So let me try to show you this and then I'll talk some about it. There are button bands in there, although they're hiding. It hasn't been blocked, and I haven't finished weaving in the ends. But there it is. Like I said, this was one of my knitting goals for the entire year, and I feel like if I accomplish nothing else, I've already checked off the big one. And I'm just really excited about that. Let me tell you some details. It is the basic raglan recipe. I've shared the details before, and I'll put them below. And it's a pattern that is written for all different weights of yarn, all different sizes. And I knit mine out of Scrappy fingering weight held double. So there are a few, I think here and there's a few minis. That's a mini there. I knit the ribbing for the sleeves. For the cuffs, excuse me, and the neck and the button bands in US 5s, and the rest of the cardigan, including the ribbing at the bottom, I knit on US 6. There's a button band. I'm not entirely sure I'm going to put buttons on it. I did the button bands with holes so that I could, if I decided it needed buttons, I could put them on. But I thought, I'm just not sure. I think this is just something I want to be able to throw on, almost just like a really comfy blanket or shawl. I absolutely loved this pattern, and I absolutely loved knitting it with scraps. Scrappy knitting a garment gives you an incredible amount of flexibility. If you run out of something or a color isn't working out as you had hoped, you can just stop knitting with it, or you can knit with something different. I was worried about running out of this color, which is Toasty by Storyteller Yarns. So I knit my button bands with something different. I actually knit it with my friend River. These were leftovers from a pair of socks that I had made. It's her tweed base and the colorway is Sienna. And it was fine. I mean, yes, you can see that the two are different. Here they are, next to one another. But who cares? When I was knitting the cuffs, all of a sudden I decided, ooh, I want to put in a different color. I want to marl a bit. So I did. And that was really cool. I enjoyed that. I marled the Toasty with, I don't even know. It was sort of a pinky brown scrappy yarn. Now, one thing I did, and in retrospect, I might have done differently, was I knit the body first, and this is a top-down raglan design, and there were several scraps that I knit all the way until I ran out of them. So when I got to the sleeves, I didn't have any of that yarn left to kind of match up the body in the sleeves. And in retrospect, I really don't care. This is something that I'm going to wear around the house, around the cabin, while we're camping, I hope, this summer. It's not perfect, and it doesn't need to be. I think I've mentioned on the podcast before that I really find garments that are very utilitarian are my favorite. I don't want to be dealing with precious garments that I'm afraid to wear because they might get ruined or dirty. No, so what else do I want to tell you? I have some notes here, so I'm going to refer to those. I talked about that. I found, and I will link it below, a video from Purl Soho with a bind off for 1x1 ribbing. This was like magic when I did it right. I did it incorrectly for the seam of the bottom. And I thought, that's okay. When I realized I had done it wrong, I thought, oh, you know what, that's okay. I still like it. It still looks really nice. And in fact, I tried to do it the right way and decided I liked the wrong way better. And so I did that for the bottom of the cardigan and the cuff and the button bands. I did it like my own accidental way, I guess. And then for the cuffs, I thought, well, let me try it the right way, just because those are just kind of that's sort of the most visible to what that would be to me anyway. And it is gorgeous. Seriously, a gorgeous bind off. I hope you can see that. I am not a fan of the tubular bind-ons and offs. I just find them really fiddly. I feel like they take a really long time. I know how gorgeous they look, and I know people adore them. I'm just not one of them. But this is fantastic. And actually, it's making me want to knit some toe-up socks, just so I can do a really gorgeous 1x1 bind off. Okay, so that's the Scrappy Cardi. Oh, one more thing, sorry. I used 12-inch circular needles for the sleeves, and that was fantastic. I pretty much knit them at the same time, so I bought 2 needles, and I absolutely loved knitting the sleeves that way. Yeah. I think that was the last thing I wanted to talk to you about. The Scrappy Cardi. Hopefully next time, maybe even the next catching up episode, this will be blocked and being worn. It's getting a little warm around these parts though. Yeah, I'm really excited that it's finished. Okay, next up, this is an exciting one. So, the lovely and talented, beautiful women from the Caddy Jacks Knits podcast are hosting a half and half wrap knit along. The half and half wrap is a free pattern from Purl Soho, and there's 2 different sizes you can knit. One requires 4 skeins of yarn, one requires 6. The pattern calls for linen quill. Now, if you remember, I knit my Greca cowl by Hand Knit by Cam in linen quill, and I absolutely loved the yarn. So, I'm knitting this project in linen quill as the pattern calls for, and as the lovely ladies, Caitlin and Jackie from Caddy Jacks, they completely sold me on how awesome this yarn is. And they are so completely right. For me, this project is all about this yarn. So the construction of the shawl is that you knit one half of the shawl in your first color, and you knit the second half of your shawl in your second color. Using short rows, the first half, the rows get shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter, and then for the second half, the rows get longer and longer. Now, the first half I should use 3 skeins of the linen quill. Let me grab my yarn out so I can tell you about it. And I just joined my second skein. So as Jackie said in their most recent podcast, this project is pretty much measured in skeins, not in rows, not in, length. It's pretty much measured in skeins. So this is what I've got so far. Make sure I don't slide these all off. And you can see here's my short row bits. That's what I've done so far. Okay, let me tell you about my 2 yarn choices. This color is green turquoise. I was gonna say turquoise, but it's green turquoise. And you can see it's completely gorgeous. My second color is juniper green. So those will be the yarns. This will be the second half. it's hard to see, but this does have almost tiny little flecks of turquoise in them. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, you can see one like right there. I may also have the yarn for a second. The ladies of Caddy Jack knits will tell you this is an incredibly addictive knit. It's an incredibly soothing, incredibly wonderful knit. I think it does have a lot to do with the yarn, although you easily could do this in any yarn you chose. Now, when I cast this on, I had just finished my cowl, my Greca cowl, and during that project, I had taught myself to knit color work with both hands. And that was extremely satisfying. It made the color work so much more enjoyable to me. So when I cast this on, I thought, okay, here's a project that would be absolutely perfect to learn continental knitting. I have heard over the years that continental knitting can, for some people, be more ergonomic, fewer repetitive stress injuries. It's also just nice to be able to do both. And so I thought, okay, throughout this, I'm going to teach myself how to do that. I watched several videos online, and it's been great. I really enjoyed it. My tension is very even now. I'm not worried. Yeah, it's looking great. So that's been really exciting, and that's been a skill that I've just been absolutely thrilled to master. Now, what I am not as good at is purling. And that's something that I'm just going to have to devote an entire project. I'm going to knit and purl through this whole project, you know, without purling English, thrower style. So we'll see. I would, however, recommend, if you are trying to learn how to purl continental, actually, Arn and Carlos have a video of the Norwegian purling method. I'm telling you, it blew my mind. It is so fantastic. I always thought with continental purling that you would have to bring the yarn to the front of the work so that you could purl. Now, when I tried to do that, it wasn't terribly hard, but I was twisting my stitches. And I don't want to have to go and knit through the back of the loop on the next round or anything like that. So watching their video was miraculous, and I am just going to have to spend the time and get the muscle memory to do it. I just don't have it yet. So that's my half and half wrap. It completely lives up to the hype, I have to tell you. When I feel like, do you ever get times where you feel like you were just at odds with all of your knitting? Like, I'll show you in a minute. I have another project on the go that it's been iffy at times. This is something amazing that you can pick up, make progress on, enjoy. You know it's always going to be there and consistent, and it's not going to have any problems. I absolutely love it, and I am so excited to wear this wrap. Their goal is to wear these on the hill at Rhinebeck in October. Okay, somehow I've managed to... And I would absolutely love that. Who knows what's going to be going on with the pandemic situation. Who knows what's going to be going on at that point. But even if I'm not there wearing it, I will be here loving this wrap. And like I said, I I have the yarn for a second one, and I think it's going to be gorgeous. It's like a brownish oatmeal color and then a really deep purple. So I'm really excited about that one. That will probably be more of an autumnal knit. And this is a long-term project. I mean, you kind of have to just settle in with it. And as Jackie said, measure it in terms of skeins, not in terms of, you know, stitches or how much you have left. So while I haven't been working on that super consistently, I cast that on at the end of February, February 28th, as a matter of fact. And I think I've made pretty good progress in that time, given that I haven't been working on it consistently. Okay, last project for today's little catch you up is my striped Esjan. Now I looked that up. My Icelandic friends can tell me whether or not I'm pronouncing that correctly. This is a pattern by Stephen West. It was originally written for worsted weight yarn, and I actually have that worsted weight pattern, and then he updated it to be knit with fingering weight yarn. I looked up how to say it in advance of recording, and I do think it's Esjan, and that's either a mountain or a mountain range in Iceland. I saw both listed. So let me tell you the details first. I am knitting this shawl on a US 4 3.5 millimeter needle. And I think the pattern only calls for 3 colors. I included a 4th. I started out with, and it's striped, as it says in the title. I started out with, let me show you the 2 yarns. Shenanigans, and I actually don't have the blue yarn with me, but it's Not Now Arctic Puffin. And these are yarns by Sarah at Murray & Co. Wool Goods, and this is Shenanigans. What? Oh, it's so gorgeous. Is this not gorgeous? So, I'll tell you that in a second. Okay, so Shenanigans, Not Now Arctic Puffin, which is the turquoise. This is a yarn that I bought a very long time ago by Hedgehog Fibers, and I think I've lost the ball band, but I think it's Monarch. It's pretty blown out, I think. That's not bad. And it is the sock yarn. And then this is Spotty Hottie by Carol at Haverland Yarns. Oof. There we go. Did I just say oof? So I kind of just wanted to play with some color throughout the course of the shawl. So I started off, like I said, with the Arctic Puffin. Am I showing you the right side? No, I am not. So Not Now Arctic Puffin striped with Shenanigans, and then Monarch striped with Shenanigans. I added in a random Not Now Arctic Puffin, and then finished up with Monarch. My progress with this shawl has been iffy at times. I either can't count or remember to yarn over at the end of a row. Somehow, numerous times, I was off. Stephen West's patterns are impeccable. This was completely user error. But something was different. In the past, I think I would have you know, I would have gotten to a section where I was off and I would have just left it. It would have languished. It would never have been finished. I would have eventually reclaimed the yarn for something else. In this case, I gave myself a half a day or two, and then went back to it and tried to reconcile the knitting, tried to make it work, tried to fix it. Last night, so there are going to be 3 of these yellow sections. You can see how pretty they are. Last night I started the second yellow section, and I'm sorry, 2 nights ago I started the second yellow section and realized when I got to the end of the row that I was off by about 9 stitches. How is that even possible? I had only done a few rows in between the 2. How did I get off so incredibly? A few easy kind of rest rows in between the 2. So I put it down. We got here yesterday and I picked it up. I was sitting outside and I found a mistake, went back, unpicked this. Well, actually, the first mistake wasn't that far from the end. It was about there. Got to the end, I was off. So again, looking for the mistake, found another mistake. This time I had to go back a lot farther. And there are hundreds of stitches right now on these needles. I think ultimately I reknit that row 4 times. I was still off by 1 stitch, and I decided to just call it a day. It'll be fine. I can kind of tell that I'm basically in the right place. The pattern will be fine. It's not going to be too much affected by my being off by 1 stitch, but I can't figure out what happened or what I'm doing to consistently make these mistakes. I really do have to pay attention during this patterned bit. Otherwise, it's a disaster. But once you've started the pattern bit, it's easier to read your knitting and it's smooth sailing. But I guess I'm proud of myself that I didn't just let it go. I cast this shawl on March 12th. Let me check my notes. Yes. So I've made quite a bit of progress for me. I don't spend all of my time knitting it. I'm really getting close to the end, and hopefully it will be done very soon. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. Those are some of the knits I've been working on recently. And I will catch you up with a few more and then my sock knitting after that. Thank you for coming back and for hanging in there. I'm hoping that my recording schedule will become somewhat more regular. I'm thinking that I might try to do every 3 weeks. I often feel like I don't have enough progress for every 2 weeks. So every 3 weeks might be just about right. We'll see how it goes. I hope you're well. I hope you have peace and calm wherever you are right now. And I look forward to visiting with you again soon. Until again.